back to the monthly market update for August 2025. I'm Mary Bartos with the Bartos Group of Premier Plus, and
I am Cheryl Stokes with New American Funding.
So Cheryl, let's get into it because this is really kind of the tale of two markets. You know, our snow states and our sand states are operating very differently right now. So what does Lance Lambert, co-founder of Resi Club, have to say?
So Lance says, since the national pandemic housing boom fizzled out in 2022, the national power dynamic has slowly been shifting from sellers to buyers. Of course, across the country, that shift has varied significantly.
It is. And that's where we bring into this next graph, Cheryl, because this is quite amazing. We were both doing this together in the pandemic, a little differently, couldn't get together, but we had more buyers than we did sellers.
Correct.
And here this graph talks about the South and the West, I call them the sand states, are actually have more sellers than buyers, kind of significantly.
They do. They do. And we hear about this because people travel around the country and their expectations are skewed based on where they're coming from.
That's right. Because clearly in the Northeast and the Midwest, it's actually a seller's market.
Right.
So, which is really, good for them. Tell us what Realtor.com has to say.
So they say the South and West continue to see the greatest inventory gains and the sharpest market slowdowns with longer time on market and more frequent price cuts. The Northeast and the Midwest remain relatively tighter by comparison, but are also gradually moving toward more buyer-friendly conditions than in recent years.
Okay. So they're getting there, but I don't know that they're quite as far along as we are in that process. And we're going to talk about that a little bit later. But let's talk about what's happening at, Realtor.com with the 13 of the top 50 metros.
So at the metro level, 13 of the top 50 metros now exceed their pre-pandemic inventories by 25% or more, all in the South or West regions. On the flip side, 17 of the top metros still lag at least 25% below their pre-pandemic inventory norms. So again, same
Tale of Two. Yeah. What was that book? Tale of Two
Cities?
Yes. That was the book. And a movie, I think.
I think. But here are the cities.
So here are the cities, if you're curious. The sellers have the most power. When I look at this list of 10, Cheryl, they're all in the Midwest and the Northeast.
Yes.
Rochester, New York. Philadelphia.
Illinois.
Yeah.
Alaska.
Alaska
is a seller's market.
Crazy. Where the buyers have the most power. And look at all of those that have Florida on them.
Yep. 4 Florida cities.
Yeah. We're not in one of them, but maybe we're not big enough because we're not one of the largest 50 metros.
Right.
So, so that just tells you, we wanted to give you perspective. Again, what Cheryl said is where you're coming from when you come to our area. What does that mean for you? Or if you're selling your house, what does that mean for you?
And going somewhere else.
Exactly. So let's talk about what's near and dear to your heart, and that is mortgages.
Yes. Recent rate stability benefits buyers and sellers both.
Well, we love that. So what does Sam Cater have to say from Freddie Mac?
So Sam says mortgage rates have moved within a narrow range for the past few months. Rate stability, improving inventory, and slower house price growth are an encouraging combination. And you and I have talked about that before.
Absolutely. We want to get it to affordability. And this is kind of an interesting slide and maybe an eye test when you look at this on screen. But what's happening with those mortgage rates? They're saying they're experiencing less volatility.
They're less volatile. They're saying at a stable rate. And this is kind of what I've been talking about. People should stop looking at the rates and if they're jumping up or down and maybe 0.3% lower one day versus the next. They're hanging pretty close to the same.
Right.
And now let's look at affordability based on the rates as they are today. They're not jumping up and down. You're not going to get that great big spike, but you're not going to get that big drop you're hoping for either.
Right. But there are some ways that we can get buy downs, et cetera, with concessions.
Yes.
So what does Housing Wire have to say?
Analysts, economists, and mortgage professionals are coining this quarter's activity as one of the most calm periods for mortgage rates in recent memory. And I would say that's true.
I like calm.
Yeah, calm is good.
Calm is good.
You can plan around calm.
Yeah, you can. And our friend Sam Cater, what is he saying from Freddie Mac again?
Borrowers should find comfort in the stability of mortgage rates. which have only fluctuated within a narrow 15 basis point range since mid-April. Although recent data show that home sales remain low, the resulting available inventory provides homebuyers with a wider range of options to consider when entering the market. So those are those affordability options we're talking about. If we can plan around the rates, we can create ways to make home buying affordable.
Which I love. If you're getting a mortgage, not in our market does everyone get a mortgage. I mean, we have 60% are cash, but the reality is the mortgage interest rates really affect us all.
They do.
And what's happening in the markets and how, comfortable we feel and all that sort of thing. Now, buyer demand is up slightly this year regarding mortgage purchase application index. So what's the green line is what, Cheryl, 2025?
Yep. So that's showing there's a little bit higher demand this year than last year. I'm sure this is a national average. So again, that's going to play into where are you and is the demand high there? Or is the demand lower where you're looking and you might have a better buying opportunity?
Absolutely. This is Mortgage Banker Association, so we know it's national,
right?
For sure, and their data. So what does Danielle Hale have to say from Realtor.com?
So Danielle says, I expect a generally downward trend for rates this year, but at a slow enough pace that it might not be noticeable in any given month. And I wholeheartedly agree.
Calm. Just kind of
nothing crazy,
easing down. And the mortgage rates and projections by Fannie Mae, MBA, Wells Fargo, they're kind of all in the same thing.
Yeah, they're within 0.6 overall. And again, it's just hovering.
Yeah.
It's hovering. We might get a decline, but it might just stay where it's at.
Right. Exactly. So let's not plan on it.
No, we want the decline.
Yeah.
We want the decline.
We want the decline. So what's Lawrence Yoon saying at NAR?
Even incremental small changes in mortgage rates, I think, will bring more buyers. And I think that's true as well. If we get another slight decline and we are consistently in the mid to low sixes, I think you're going to see an increase in buyers.
Yeah. Yeah. We've been talking about that for a little while.
A long time, yeah.
It seems like we've got one more quote, and that is from Karen Ninja. Sorry if I'm mispronouncing your name, Zillow Home Loans. What is she saying?
Slightly lower mortgage rates toward the end of the year could further improve affordability, but significant improvements appear unlikely. So they're all really saying the same thing.
Yeah.
We're in a stable market. We might get a decline. A small decline will help, but we're just in a calm market. Let's plan around what we've got.
I love that. So you and I have done this slide before, which is awesome. Even a small change in rate can help reduce payments. So talk about this a little bit, Cheryl, because this is near and dear to your heart.
It is. And here you see what a quarter point will do in changing your payment. And this is where affordability really comes into play, because the difference between $25.28 and $26.61 can make or break the qualification for a home buyer who needs a loan, especially first-time home buyers. So how can you help them achieve even a quarter point savings if the rates are stable and they are what they are? Or how can you help them create an offer that allows them to find those savings?
And I love that you said create an offer, because, why not go in with some concessions to buy down that?
Exactly. And this is one of the things, again, that's regionally. I hear people talk online all the time. They might be in the Northeast, and seller concessions are unheard of. But if it's a buyer's market, why not? Let's create that affordability. If you need to move now, let's find a way to make it affordable for you.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. So I love that because, again, this is on a $400,000 loan amount. So what are we talking about? If they put down 3%, maybe, you're talking about.
Well, 3% would be 4 times 3 is $12,000. So if you also ask for 3% back, they've put 12 down, but you're getting 12 back towards closing cost prepaids, buying down the rate, et cetera.
Yeah, which is really great.
That's huge for a lot of people.
Yeah. And, honestly, what seller would not do that if the deal is right?
Correct. If the deal is right and their net is what they want to get. And at the end of the day, it's got to work for everybody.
Right.
So if the seller's getting their net and the buyer is getting a rate that they can afford and a down payment that they can afford, it's a win-win.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So I have one more slide for you to read from Bankrate, what Jeff Ostrowski says.
He says trying to time mortgage rates is really difficult. There's no guarantee that rates are going to be any more favorable in 3 or 6 months or even next week. I tell people this all the time. Do not try to plan ahead for what the mortgage rates will be. They are what they are at the time that you need them.
Right.
And there's no way for me to tell you in November that the rates will be less.
Right.
Or more.
Right. Because if you need to move now, you are divorce, a marriage, what do they say? The 5 Ds, diamonds, all those things, delocation. I love that.
I had a client ask me for my best and final offer on rate last week for a home that's closing in November. And I said, that's not something I can provide to you.
Right.
It's too far out to lock. And if I locked it that amount of time, it would cost them more. So you can't predict 4 months from now.
Which, is so important to talk to a professional when you're looking to get a mortgage. Somebody that can help guide you through different products, through things like that. The average person doesn't know that.
Right.
They're just trying to get a rate.
Right. They're trying to be fiscally conservative, which they should.
Right.
But they need to speak to someone who can explain how it really works.
I couldn't agree more. So, Cheryl, let's look at the current market. These are homes for sale. So the active homes in the MLS in the month of July. And you can see, let's look at Naples. It's got the most. 5,266 homes for sale. Now, a couple of things to point out about this is, yes, it is more than in 23. Not quite double, but it is significant. And we are adding to that every month. So if you look at the new listings, so we're adding to this month, we added 815 in Naples.
So that's a lot to add to what's already high.
Absolutely. And then you kind of add one more thing to that and you look at total sales in the month of July. And in Naples, it was 629.
So we left 25% of those on the table.
Yeah. So when you think about that, I'm adding more. I've got a high inventory. I'm adding more, and I'm not catching up in that current month.
Right.
Now, July was a great month for us. We had a lot of sales. We had 38 families we helped in the month of July, which is really our best since we started tracking, and that's in 5 years, which is really amazing. So July was a good month. And if you look at total sales, we're not that far off in Naples. If you look at Naples, 629. In July of 24, it was 612, and roughly about the same number, 624 and 23. Very similar.
Right. So the sales tracking is approximately the same, but it's the houses going on market that is varying.
And the houses that have been sitting there.
Right.
Priced inappropriately, I might, usually is why they sit there. So total sales year to date, you can see we've had quite a number of sales that we've had year to date. That we are less than we were in 23 and a little bit, but we're not crazy.
I was just thinking that while you were talking about what we just said, and even here, total sales year to date, in every place, they have varied, but not drastically. No. The only real change is the inventory total.
That's right. That's right. Exactly. So we're just bringing on more. So, which brings us into something really near and dear, the month's supply. If you look at Marco and think about this from 0 months of inventory to 12, in that 6, 5, 6, 7, that's a neutral market. We are definitely, and we have less inventory right now than we have had, even though we have a lot. You look at that and you think, okay, Fort Myers and the Cape aren't quite far off of that neutral market, but Marco and overall Naples are high. They're definitely in a buyer's market. Right. But the thing that, is near to dear my heart, because we track this with our sellers all the time, is, okay, how many showings do I need to get to a pending? And if I'm looking at, the top one is in the Cape, they have to have 13.4 showings to get to a pending.
That's a lot.
And then, the lowest one is in Fort Myers is at 10.3. So the next slide tells us, oh my gosh, we're only getting 3 showings or less a month. So I'm going to be on the market 4 or 5 months.
Yeah.
If my price is right. Right.
Right.
So based on these averages. So, I think, Cheryl, we're always talking about, I'm telling my buyers right now, it is a great time to buy because once we get into October and new listings come on, they're not going to be as motivated to sell.
Right.
They just came on the market.
Right.
So this time that we're in, August, September, beginning of October, great time. And from an interest rate
perspective, it's a great time to buy. Rates are stable, trending downward slightly, but a good time to buy. And you have lots to choose from and lots to negotiate with if you're a buyer.
That's right. And if you are a seller, it's also a great time to put your house on the market. I've had these conversations with people because there's less inventory. Yes, we have a lot of inventory, but there's less than there will be in October and January, which are our 2 highest listing months.
Correct.
So, Cheryl, time to move?
Always. It's a time for somebody. You're relocating, you're a first-time home buyer, you're downsizing. It's always a time to buy or move if it's your time right now.
I love the way she said that. So we'd love to talk to you about if it's your time and how we can help you either sell that beautiful house and move on to somewhere else or come from somewhere else, another home locally or far, into our market. Look forward to seeing you on the next monthly market update. I'm Mary Bartos.
I'm Cheryl Stokes.
Until then.